All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being down here bright and early. I'm sure everybody's feeling really good. We have 5 fantastic panelists here to discuss what motivates and what's important to young professionals in our industry and in their careers. Each panelist has less than 5 years of experience in the industry, but they all have very different backgrounds and experiences so far. I'm sure you all have some great questions to ask them, so I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists. Starting on the far end with Kelli Roberts. Kelli graduated from Georgia Tech with a bachelor's in civil engineering. She's a registered PE in the state of Georgia. Kelli has over 4.5 years of safety engineering and design related experience. Kelli is a part of the GDOT safety team as a supervisor for the safety program at the TMC. A fun fact about Kelli is that she has an impressive collection of houseplants. Next, we have Marci Early. Marci earned her bachelor's in mathematics from Fort Valley State University and her bachelor's in civil engineering from the University of Arkansas. A native of Atlanta, she returned to her hometown and began her career as a traffic engineering consultant in January of 2018. Throughout her 4.5-year career, Marci has worked on multiple traffic impact studies, DRIs, and signal designs. She's currently a member of the Keck Wood traffic team, where she utilizes the best of both her technical and soft skills to provide high-quality traffic services to private and public sector clients. She's the current vice chair of the Emerging Leaders Initiative Advisory Board at the Council for Quality Growth and a 2022 graduate of the ACEC Future Leaders Program. A fun fact about Marci is that she once got to go to Disney World for free because her best friend was an intern there during the summer. Next, we have Poonam Patel. Poonam graduated from Georgia Tech in fall of 2019 with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. She interned with Kimley-Horn twice before joining full-time in the traffic operations team in Midtown Atlanta. She has worked on a variety of projects, including signal timing through the SIGOPS Southwest and SIGOPS Metro Central regions, ITS planning for the US DOT ITS for Us program alongside ARC, and traffic modeling projects in VISM and SimTraffic for several private clients. She's originally from Tampa, loves trying out the best restaurants in any new city, and is a Star Wars fan. She dressed up as a Jedi at DragonCon. Next up, we have Raul Vera. Raul graduated in fall of 2018 from Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with a major in civil environmental engineering. He began working for GDOT in the District 7 Traffic Operations Office, where he served originally as a permit and operations engineer for cities in North Fulton County. Then as a subject matter expert, preparing and reviewing traffic engineering reports for the district. Most recently, he has accepted a new role in the department as the state signal permit engineer. Raul can be found enjoying his free time at sporting events around Atlanta, cheering on his favorite teams and players. And last but not least, we have Chris Moultrie. Chris earned his bachelor's in civil engineering from Kennesaw State in spring of 2021. Before graduating, he spent 2 summers interning at the Gwinnett County DOT. He has since been working at AECOM as a part of the SIGOPS North team, who oversee the maintenance and operations of more than 1,500 traffic signals across North Georgia. Chris develops and implements signal timings that drastically improve signal operations and travel times, manages signal operations during major freeway incidents to provide reliable detour routes, and monitors for and responds to maintenance issues to ensure optimal signal performance. A fun fact about Chris is that he considers himself a military brat. All right, with that, we'll get started. Does anyone have any questions to get us kicked off with, or should I get us kicked off? All right. So let's start out by talking about what is important and attractive to young professionals. How do you guys prioritize what's important between like the work you're doing, the people that you're working with, your workplace, compensation, flexibility, etc.? Anyone can feel free to start.
All right. So for me personally, some of the things that were important coming out of college and seeking a job opportunity, I would consider it 1 and 1A, not one more important than the other, but definitely the job aligning with what you want to do. So ensuring that where you're going is you're doing something that you can see yourself doing 5 to 10 years from now, or maybe even in the more distant future. And then number 1B, I guess, is the people. You want to make sure that you're surrounded by good people that have your best interest in mind, that support your development, and that will be in your corner when you have a problem or you have something you can't figure out. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hello. Okay, great. This is on. Yeah, so I guess for me, it was a little different because I like to say I kind of fell into the industry. I went to Georgia Tech, was surrounded by all you roadway traffic engineers, and I was like, oh, can't understand. They're obsessed with roads. That's so weird. And then I ended up taking a job in this field and absolutely fell in love with it. But I think what motivates all of us is just wanting to learn more and be the best engineers we possibly can be. I think this is such a specific field that people are only drawn to if you have some sort of passion, and we're all just really focused on fostering and growing that passion, and just like you said before, surrounding yourself with people and a company who's willing to foster that passion, and you can see that growth forward is so incredibly important. And I think that's what a lot of young professionals are looking for in the workplace.
For me, it's a lot of the same. What I was looking more so was a role where I felt like I could grow into sort of the engineer that I wanted to be, and I felt GDOT had a lot to offer in that area, particularly in traffic operations. There's a lot of different things you can get involved with and sort of find your area that you're really passionate about through your growth and development. So I'm very fortunate for GDOT to sort of foster that growth and development for me. Anytime I want to go to trainings, whether it's directly related to my job responsibilities or not, they're more than welcome to allow me to do that, cross training and all different areas of responsibility. So for me, that's really what I was looking for, and that's why I'm really happy to continue to stay with GDOT, because they show an investment in me. They show that you know, I can be whoever I want to be within the department.
Okay, I'll just speak real loud. In addition to what my fellow panelists have spoken to, being able to use the best of your skill set, and whether, of course, we all kind of come out of college on the same playing field, right? Regardless of where you went to college, we know you can do that technical work. But being able to do the work of a consultant, in my case, and learning that early on is pretty much what attracted me to my field. So it allowed allowed me to use the best of both my technical and my soft skills, like she spoke to in my bio. So that was really important to me too.
Seems like everyone's felt this throughout the industry, but like having people around you to motivate you to diversify your skill set, to invest in yourself and your career growth was what really motivated me when I was coming out of college, and making sure that no matter what, you're able to get that support.
Awesome. Any questions from you guys? Yeah, Chris.
Morning, y'all. So with the recent kind of shift from physical office requirements to a more virtual, remote kind of aspect, y'all speak about what challenges y'all had as young professionals and what successes y'all saw with your managers that helped kind of ease that transition, or what was tough for going through that for someone that's still learning and still growing in the profession?
Yeah, someone who's only a year out of college. I mean, as far as the actual getting day-to-day tasks done, that really hasn't been an issue. I've more so struggled on the face-to-face interaction side. So, you know, having a more personal connection with management, that's been a bit challenging, especially with our staff. We're kind of scattered all around Georgia, so we don't really go into the office much. So that's lacking, but they are there to support me. I can reach out to them anytime. They're readily available. I don't feel like I'm inconveniencing anybody when I reach out to them. So it's been a challenge in that, you know, you don't have that face-to-face interaction, so you're not able to develop as much of a personal relationship. But for me, workload has been, and getting work done in a timely manner has not been as much of an issue.
I would say in my experience, I started working in GDOT sort of right before the pandemic hit, and we sent everybody home for an indefinite period, I believe around March or April. And, you know, it started out wonderful. Like, oh man, this is great. I just get to, you know, work from home every day. I don't have to commute. At that point, I was commuting like maybe almost an hour every day. So I was like, I don't have to drive anywhere. I just work from home. This is fantastic. And then as time went on, I was just like, man, I'm really missing that interaction with my coworkers. I'm missing that social environment. As Chris spoke to, I'm missing that some of that face-to-face time with my management, you know, and getting to talk with them, and also it's a lot easier, I feel, to tackle problems and everything in person, because as we're sitting in the office, it's easy for me to walk over really quickly and get an opinion from a colleague, or walk across the hall and get direct input, you know, instant from my supervisor or from the DTE on any issues that I'm having. And I really struggled with that virtually because, like you said, you don't want to feel like you're inconveniencing people and always constantly having to do Microsoft Teams meetings or Zoom calls. So with the current situation that we have now, I feel as though like the hybrid work schedule is definitely preferred, because I do enjoy working from home, but also that office environment is needed for me as well.
For me, I think we always talk about this when we get asked about, you know, flexibility and what we wanted in the workplace. And so my team did this roll call where during the pandemic, the entire year when we were remote, we would get on the phone for like 15 minutes every day on video and just chat about our day, and then also chat about anything that we were working on. And so with the constraints of being virtual, that created a space for us to have discussions on the work that we do, but also get to know each other. And that was really nice for me because I started 3 weeks before we went remote. So I started, I think, February 2020, and we went remote March 15th. So that was one of my favorite things. We had a lot of challenges during the pandemic, but that helped create connection and help me grow. I think for me personally in the workplace, I prefer flexibility, and I think that my team has really focused on trust within each other. So we don't need to question like if we have something else going on that day or if we need to be in the office. It's you have the support within your team to know that it's important to be in person and that you should prioritize being in person, but when necessary, you can definitely have that flexibility.
Yeah, for the team that I was on during the pandemic, it was a pretty seamless transition because for one, we already had people who worked fully remote already. And for two, there was already the option to work from home prior to the pandemic. So the trust factor was pretty much already there, that when you were working at home, you were going to be able to do what you needed to do. One thing I saw from my management at that time was an increase in communication, and that was key. That was key, just reaching out, management reaching out to you to, you know, take that step forward to see how you're doing. And it just really opened up the line of communication. So communication is like really, really key when it comes to working from home. And when it comes to that transition that we had to make. And
this moment, we need more soft skills to transition to dealing with the public and things like that, because those direct calls from constituents can be pretty entertaining.
Yes, piggybacking off of what Raul said, definitely learning how to effectively communicate technical information in a way that the client understands, in a way that the public understands, is paramount if you want to be successful in this career field. We're all very good at numbers, and we're all good at math and science. That's why we're here. But you really want to take your career to the next level. I wish I would have been told more that you have to learn how to communicate those numbers to everyone involved.
I got you next. I see.
So, besides getting yourself an awesome raise, if you were boss for a day, or the boss, your own boss, what are 3 things that you would do? What's 3 things that you would do? Just 3 things.
Okay. So in my career, I've had the chance to manage an intern, so I got that chance. 3 things I learned. 1, ask for feedback. As the manager, ask for feedback. So it always comes down to there's a review process for the intern at the end. When it's all said and done, there's a review process for all of us. But I think there also needs to be a review process for the manager. You found out so much about how you're performing, and so many of those barriers are breaking down as to where you thought their performance might have been attributed to one thing. You talk to them, you find out it's attributed to a whole nother thing that you had no idea about, right? So I would ask for feedback as to how they're performing. I think the second thing I would do if I were boss for a day is, well, that was the top thing I learned. Let me get back. I'm gonna get past, and I'll give you 2 more things. I owe you 2.
I think for me, it was just being really intentional with their time and my time. I also got the chance to supervise an intern this past summer, and the biggest thing that he told me was when he had been at previous internships, he was kind of sometimes an afterthought when it came to workload. A lot of times I think that even I would get caught up in the work that I was doing and would get overwhelmed with the work that I was doing, that I would forget to check in on the intern that I was working with and what he needed from me and what new work he needed. And he said that he appreciated, that amount of check-in and the constantly being able to provide him work, because he wanted to be there, he wanted to learn, and we're the ones that gave them the opportunity to do that at the workplace.
I don't have 3 things, but I do. I would say that having emotional intelligence is also important when you're in a managerial role. Your job as a manager is not just to assign tasks and leave them to the wolves to fend for themselves. You got to be there to support them and guide them through the process, not necessarily holding their hand, but being there if they kind of veer off the wrong path, and just supporting and making sure that you're understanding how they're feeling about things. Like Poonam said, periodically checking in and making sure that they're okay.
So it's actually pretty interesting because I'm going to be stepping into a managerial role this week, actually. So this has been something that, I've been thinking about over my time and things like that. So 3 things that I think I would do is build personal relationships, but not so much. I heard it can be kind of complex becoming like friends with your employees and things like that. So I'm definitely going to go through a learning experience with that. But personal relationships, interacting, I know for me, as a entry level, junior level engineer, I always enjoyed sort of like team lunches, just going to grab, and that comes with that personal touch that we were talking about earlier, just getting those interactions with your manager, sort of having an open door policy, that's one thing I really enjoyed about our district traffic engineer currently, Megan Wilson. Her door is always open. You can just come in and have a quick chat with her. And so building those personal relationships, finding out what motivates your team. So whether it's their family, the work they're doing, things like that, find what motivates them so that you can relate their day-to-day and sort of how you communicate with them to, you know, what gets them going in the morning, right? And then speaking on training interns and things like that, I did also have the chance to work with an intern. Pass along your knowledge to your employees. A lot of times the entry level and intern engineers can get stuck and caught up doing some busy work, right? And so I noticed that the intern was kind of maybe doing a lot of busy work, and you know, I pulled him off for maybe a week or so. You know, hey, let me run through these things with you: signal warrant analysis, synchro capacity analysis, and as my fellow panelists I've spoke to just after, you know, he's just so appreciative of, like, you know, thank you for passing along this, because, you know, I've just been sort of doing these other things, and just this new knowledge and ability to learn new things is motivating for them.
All right. If I were boss for a day, no, what would I change? I just want to say that I am so happy and my manager is so great. Shout out to Sam Harris all the way in the back. I won't make you stand up. But I wouldn't change anything. I'm so happy. I come into work, and I think the most important part of it is just to have that passion piece, and to have mentors and managers who want to facilitate that passion piece, whatever that may be. I think it differs for all of us. We all have different, you know, specific interests, and maybe it's signal, whatever it may be, but just facilitating that passion piece and finding where that fits in amongst all of the just day-to-day things that we need to do just to keep programs going and moving forward, and just finding time for that is so important.
Sam, please refrain from bribing the panelists next year. Thank you. Okay.
Real quick, I just want to add on, because I got one more thing. Raul spoke to something I thought was very important. One of the things I kind of was learning to do is training that intern to be able to do my job. If my sets are set forward, I shouldn't have any worries about them being able to take my place, because I'm going to move up. So, and that's kind of the mentality my current supervisor has. You know, he's like, listen, I want you to be able to, you know, I know he's going to move up. He has a sight set of moving up. So it should be about, you know, that long-term growth and facilitating that.
So you guys just starting your careers. That's awesome. I'm just starting mine. Been a little longer though. And there's a good mix of consultants and GDOT. I wish we had a city, some person here. I'm just personal preference. But what drew you to consulting versus GDOT/GDOT versus consulting? Is there something that you miss by not being in the other end? And there's something you wouldn't change because you thought that you think this is the greatest decision you made? You want to be a consultant forever. You want to work at GDOT until you're the.
Hi. So for those of you who don't know me, I started out working at Arcadis for 3.5 years, and I recently joined the GDOT team. So I have experience both on the consultant and the state side now. I think starting out as a young engineer, I had absolutely no interest in the state whatsoever, being completely honest. I wanted to make money, so I went with the consulting firm, and I learned everything that I know on the job. And it was great that they fostered everything. And I learned all of the really important technical skills that has kind of facilitated my background and my knowledge. But I guess once I learned all of those technical aspects of things, I was like, okay, what's next? Yes, you can always be a project manager and manage people. That's great. But that's not where I saw my career ending. I didn't just want to be a great project manager. That's great, but I wanted to do something. I don't know exactly where I will end up. Maybe I will be the commissioner of GDOT. I don't know. But I know I want to have a really big impact in this industry and do something really important. And I felt like having the knowledge of the GDOT industry and how contracts work and how to get things done and the policies and building up those relationships within GDOT was so incredibly important to my career, that although I may have taken an interim pay cut, I think long term it's the best decision I could have ever made in my career. And I think part of that reason is because now I have more flexibility to implement that passion piece, that I think is so important to young professionals.
Can't speak for GDOT, but I did intern 2 summers at Gwinnett County, which is public sector. So, and now I'm a consultant. So, I would say that, interning in the public sector for 2 summers really opened my eyes to traffic engineering, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to start before starting my career to start at. So, it exposed me to a variety of things. It allowed me to truly see, where I wanted to go with my career and kind of what I wanted to specialize in. That's kind of where I discovered, signal operations and signal timing. And it kind of, allowed me to realize what I wanted to do. So when seeking a job out of college, had a general idea of what I wanted to do. And, I was offered that with a consultant. I don't know what the future holds, 5 to 10 years from now, and if that's something I'll be doing. But for now, I feel like this is a perfect place for me to start my career, having a specialty and having a niche in something I truly enjoy and something I'm truly passionate about.
I want to add one thing to what I said. I think one of the things that was really, really attractive to me about being on the GDOT side is that now I got to make the decisions, and like the bigger decisions. Before I was making a decision of what should the radius be on the entry for the roundabout, which is important. But it's not, okay, we should spend the taxpayers' dollars at this location instead of that location. And being able to back that up through data and make those hard decisions, I think that is so valuable in my career, being able to have to make those decisions and being put in that position to use that knowledge, I think is going to make me the best engineer possible. And so having to make those hard decisions in terms of financial and dealing with more of the people, the everyday people, right? We work for GDOT, we work for the people, the traveling public. And just remembering that and why we're all in this industry to make a difference is so important. And GDOT facilitates that. So you should all come work for GDOT.
Yeah, so I had 2 summer internships working private government contract for the Department of Energy. It was a construction-based project, but it sort of gave me some insight to how the private sector works and what was really the focus of that project and things like that. And I really felt like I wanted to do more to impact the public and make more decisions that will benefit, my fellow citizens of Georgia. As Kelly stated, we work for the state, we work for the people, we're employed by the people. So, so I felt like GDOT gave me the perfect opportunity to do that, especially in traffic operations. and especially in the district, it's very local. Like I said, we get people that call our phone direct, as a CE2, as a CE3. But out of those, spawn really personal projects that you see going on in your community, in your area. In D7 traffic ops, I had the opportunity to see projects from start to finish. We'll get a request from the citizen. We start the investigation. I was able to do all the data collection, all the analysis, write the complete report. And, even if I wanted to, I could have also worked on the design as well. So the flexibility that I'm getting from GDOT is something that I felt was missing over my experience in the private sector working my internships, because it was more, okay, you're hired to do this specific role. We need these things done, by this time. And because, we're working for the private sector, or, our goal is to get this delivered under budget, and we have, charge hours and things like that. So for me, that's what kept me, and that's what's keeping me at GDOT, is that I like that flexibility in impacting the public, and not sort of doing site plan designs and things like that.
Okay, I'll speak to the consultant side because y'all are really up here selling GDOT. So let me just. But on the consultant side, for me, I feel like it's the best of both worlds. I actually enjoy working on private sector work. I enjoy the balance of working on private and public sector work. Let me say that. But even when you do work on private sector work, you get exposure to a whole nother world of real estate a lot of times, zoning a lot of times. And I just think that understanding makes you, even more well-rounded the areas that you originally hadn't even thought about. Also, I enjoy being able to technically break down to clients what is happening and everything, and just the joy they have when they've gotten a project approved and everything like that. So I'm just trying to sell consulting because I don't want everybody jumping over to GDOT.
And then for me, this was my experience being in consulting. I was sold by the opportunity to get the chance to work on so many projects. When I was first recruiting, they were like, you can join this transportation team, and these are all the different things that you can do. And throughout my time working, I would say, I'm really interested in this project. I think that this is something that I would learn a lot from. And within a couple months, I would be able to get the opportunity to at least dip my toes in the water in that aspect, or, learn as many new things as I could. And I felt like that was the most important thing to me, like starting off my career, is I wanted as many skills as possible and as many different parts of transportation so that I could be a well-rounded engineer.
John?
I'm John, first-time caller, long-time listener. So if you're Marwan or Tom or John, one of those old guys, how do those, yeah, you heard me. How do those guys help you find your passion? A lot of you have alluded to or even stated your desire for your passion in your career. How do the old people help you find your passion? How do your managers do that? This is where you get to tell the managers what they're supposed to do. Vintage people.
Well, I'll just start with saying that to help facilitate that passion, exposure to an array of things is paramount. Allowing us junior engineers to actually step out on our own and perform these tasks. Allow us to be willing, like I said, allow us to be willing to make mistakes, but don't let us veer too far off the path. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. I'll come back if I think of something else.
Just ask the question. Just ask the question. And I think, but I think that leads into a larger conversation of building those relationships. And if you make time to stop and ask the question, it'll lead into a much larger conversation of, you know, what can I do? How does that fit into the company? And it builds that small connection that you can build off of. And like she said earlier, I mean, this industry breaks down to be so small. So you're gonna see everyone again, and you're gonna use all of those connections that you build. So just asking the question and using that to build a connection with your lower staff and understanding what motivates them, I think is a great place to start.
Yeah, again, like I said, my experience with GDOT is how I've sort of found my passion was just the ability to, like I said, take any training classes that I wanted to, and then the ability, like I said, in traffic ops to work on different things. So you can come in one responsibility, really get into it, but, you know, once you hit a certain point, you may be like, okay, I'm sort of interested in maybe checking these things out. Maybe you want to get into signals. Maybe you want to get into the traffic studies and, you know, determining intersection control and things like that. So just in the early years, sort of allowing that flexibility to work on a variety of things so that in your first, you know, 5 or so years, you have the ability to say, oh man, I didn't miss out on anything, or you end up a 10-year, 15-year professional and say, wow, I really wish I had the chance to work in signals. You know, any sort of like rotational programs or anything, I think are very important for the junior level engineer, just to expose them to everything the industry has to offer, because, you know, the worst thing you can do is spend 10 years of your career and just say, wow, I haven't really enjoyed this, and I wish I would have known what construction was like. I wish I would have known what ITS was like, you know.
So I feel like I had somewhat recent experience where I did an implementation with someone that had, you know, I think 20 or so years of experience, and I had never done a timing implementation with him before, and just the knowledge that he was able to give me in just one day of being in the car with him and field fine tuning was, it like re-sparked my joy and passion in signal timing, and it gave me so many new perspectives. And sometimes I think I had only known him as, you know, in the past couple years that I had been working, he did a lot of ITS design maybe, or that's what I had known him as. And then all of a sudden he's got 10 years of doing signal timing, and I had no idea. And so the diversity and experience that they get and the knowledge that they can give you has definitely driven my passion.
And I'll just round it out to say the common thing is diversifying your skill set and exposure, right? Those are the common things.
Me again, thanks. And to whoever dreamed up this session, big kudos. This is great. Gray hair, we desperately, we need y'all in this industry. We need what you're saying. So thank you. And so I asked a question. What was the thing, and I'm being very vague there, that caused you to accept the position where you are now? What was it?
Well, me being starting a new role this week, accepting a new position recently, the thing for me was the ability to work on something new, the ability to gain new experience as a frontline level supervisor, and sort of continue to challenge myself and always feel like I'm on the edge of pushing my abilities, right? I'm not one to sort of sit around and be like, okay, this is the thing that I do. I do it well, and I'm just gonna show up to work, complete my assignments, and go home. The thing is that I you know, really want to feel challenged and constantly on the edge and feel like I'm developing.
For me, the thing was the people. So I'll kind of describe my interviewing process. So when I interviewed with AECOM, got a job offer. I asked to meet with Jeff. Jeff was my hiring manager, and then Madison. They went out of their way to meet me at the office and tour me through everything and kind of just speak to me. And they were receptive to any questions I had for them. So them going out of their way, coming down from where they were, and them talking to me and speaking to me and blunt about everything, that sold me, because I knew there wouldn't be any red tape, there wouldn't be any red flags associated with that. And I knew that from that, I knew that was the place I wanted to work.
Okay. I guess it's a good question for me, being that I've made a recent transition. For me, though, I think the biggest part of what made me really say yes was the fact that I would be working for somebody who believed in me from day one. The confidence that they have in me allows the confidence that I have in myself, and that makes me perform that much better in my job. I didn't have somebody who was hesitant about whether I could do it, or, if I could do it, or, somebody who believed and said, yes, you can do it. And that confidence that they had meant so much. Plus, I joined a really awesome team. Shout out to Keck Wood, I joined a really, really dynamic, awesome team, and everybody believes in everybody. We just bring a certain dynamic. The team that I joined is just, awesome. We all have our certain niche, and have a puzzle piece in this thing we call Keck Wood. So shout out to you, Clay. My supervisor, he's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the people. But when I say the people, I don't mean like the people on my level. I'll be honest, I don't come to work to make friends. I like everyone I work with, and I am friends with them, but that's not my number one goal when I come to work, is to be the best engineer possible. And so when I say the people, I mean my mentors. That's the most important thing. Who can I learn from? Who can I absorb from? And how can I put myself in the position just to be the best engineer I can? And that comes down to the mentors. Not only what can you learn from them, but what opportunities are they affording you? And just like you said, having that confidence to afford you those opportunities, and maybe let you fail, because that's the way we really learn is by failing. And to let someone fail and actually learn through that failure is so important, rather than just being like, oh yeah, I'll hold your hand and this is the way you need to do it. It's just all about learning and growth, personally.
I will add, though, that I think that relationships with mentors are really important, but I think some of the most valuable things I've learned are also from my peers. I work really closely with Sarah Jane, and I feel like most of probably 50% of what I learned is like through her, just bouncing ideas off of her. But the reason that I chose the job that I did was because of Tom. Yeah. I think you spend like 4 or 5 hours with me when I was an intern, teaching me about ATSPM and like configuring and data collection. And I think because I got that much face-to-face interaction and someone invested in me that much, it made me realize that this was the place that people cared, and people cared about my growth, and that was the biggest thing.
And if I can just add just one more thing, like Kelly said, the people that I felt I would be exposed to at the TMC was definitely a driving factor as well. The Scotts, Sams, Allen's, Justin's of GDOT, just working even at the district level, it was always like, man, Scott's a really good engineer. Sam's a really good engineer. There's so much you can learn from these guys. So, you know, what better way to learn than to like take a position in that office and, you know, be there to be able to get that interaction with them.
I'm Andy Flager with Gresham Smith, kind of the old guy parade. You are up there because y'all are unicorns. And the problem is we need a lot more unicorns right now in our little small industry. So now that you're part of us, how do we fix it? Is it going at the college level, the high school level, elementary school level, so that when you're on this side of the microphone at some point, and you will, that there's 40 of you? Because we need more people in this industry. When did you find out that this was something you could do? When did you find out it was going to be your passion? How do we as an industry get that out? You know, are we waiting too long if we're going out to colleges when they're juniors and seniors?
I think that we just need to reprioritize passion. I think right now there's this big, you know, run to tech because of the perks that you get from it. But the reason that I joined transportation and civil engineering was because I wanted longevity in this industry. I cared about this industry and the work that we do, and I wanted job stability, which civil engineering provides. So, you know, advertising that job stability, advertising the passion, advertising the day-to-day impacts that you can give, I think at a much earlier level. Like I didn't know about any of these companies until probably like my junior year of college. I think at Georgia Tech, in the civil engineering program, there was no exposure to anything until your junior year. And I think that being able to work with universities to get exposure earlier on would help.
Yeah, most definitely. For my senior design project, I was the only one who was transportation based, and many of them didn't even know that what I did existed. So there's really not much of a curriculum. Can't speak for other universities, but at Kennesaw State specifically, there's not really curriculum geared towards transportation. You kind of just gloss over it with maybe a entry-level course and a upper level elective course, but that's not until the tail end of your career. That by that time, most people have already made their decisions on what they want to do, and it's usually not transportation. So I think we definitely need a push to try to maybe at least ingrain it that there's an option for students coming in, like maybe exploratory programs, you know, STEM programs, just letting them know that that's an option and that it's there, it's lucrative, and, you know, we need them. We need younger transportation professionals.
Yeah, I would definitely say more programs and getting your companies involved with more programs for the youth, even down to sort of the elementary and middle school level. I know we used to host certain events at my university where they would invite maybe elementary schools or middle schools, and each department would be able to just sort of show them some basic things on what civil engineering is and what mechanical engineering is, what electrical engineering is. So like sparking that growth, because, you know, as you're thinking long term, you know, you're saying that we're unicorns at the moment. Going to college right now, you know, it might be a little too late to focus on that area. You know, if we want to plant the seed and grow the industry to what we need it to be, you know, I think there needs to be a push in the younger generation to sort of build that broader foundation so that as they progress and get to college, they remember, oh, I did this in elementary school, I did this in middle school, and it really sparked my interest in civil engineering. So that's what I want to do going forward. Now, once we get to college, as they alluded to, more exposure for the freshman and sophomore level people that are interested in civil engineering. You know, it's tough, and honestly, as a freshman, it was kind of demoralizing to, you know, the faculty said, hey, go to the career fair, check it out, and then I go to the career fair, and everybody's like, oh, well, you're a freshman, so come back, you know, when you have more experience. And I'm like, I left kind of disheartened. I was like, well, I think the first summer I was even eligible to apply for internships, eligible, I didn't even want to because I just had like a bad taste in my mouth from people like saying that. So some sort of like area in there where we can still be involved with the companies in some sort of capacity to foster that interest and growth into the profession.
I would just say exposure. This is an industry I didn't even know existed until I got a job in it, which is crazy considering that all of us, even the people outside of this industry, drive every single day, use these facilities that we are building, and don't even know how they come to be there, or that there's someone who designed that. No, they have no idea. And I think that just speaks to the exposure that we need. We're all civil engineers, and I think we are because we like to see the impact that our work has, and we like to see it in front of our eyes. And that is so tangible in this industry. It's just people just don't realize that. They don't know that it's out there. And I think just that exposure is really critical just to get people thinking about it and pique that interest in this industry and hopefully generate more unicorns.
Yeah, I'll just speak to the exposure piece. Actually, exposure is why I'm here right now. I'm a native of Atlanta, and I like to tell this story. The whole reason how I got into engineering is I had a math teacher, and she was like, "Yeah, Marci, you're really good at math. You should be an engineer." And I was like, "No, ma'am, I don't want to drive trains, thanks." Because that's what I thought an engineer was. But she sent me to Georgia Tech for a program where there are consultants, like as in this room, who sat us down and explained to us what they did on a daily basis. And I was like, yes, by all means, I should be an engineer. And so here I am right now. So I'm just a product of what they're speaking to, that it actually works. So.
Hi, I'm Patrice Keeter with DeKalb County. I'm following up on Andy's comment and question. First of all, I think y'all are spot on as an industry. If we're waiting to the junior year, we're too late. We're too late. It's not like when we went to school. These kids are going in basically as sophomores. They've already done through AP and dual enrollment the first 2 years. So junior year is too late. But I work for government. I will never be able to compete with Kimley-Horn and AECOM and Keck Wood. What do I do to get you more interested in government positions? How can I have 2 jobs right now if anybody wants to come on over. So, just saying, anybody, got 2 jobs, 2 engineers jobs. But I really would like your insight on how not only can we attract more people to the industry, but how can we attract them to government? What do we need to do from your perspective to make that a viable option for young professionals?
Yeah, I think just making them realize the impact that you can have being in those government positions, because you are the ones making the decisions. And I think that has the biggest impact, not sitting at your desk doing a synchro model so that you can present to a client. That's great. But that's not why I wake up in the morning, to do the next synchro model. And I work in safety too, so it's the crash. It's a whole nother world too, right? I feel like there are so many operations people in here, and we love to see those operational impacts. But working in safety, just the benefit that I feel, I don't know, it's just intangible. I know that I'm making a difference. I know that I'm making an impact, that my decisions that I am making, they matter, and they have a tangible, noticeable difference to our community that I can see. and just having people realize that that is what those government positions afford you is really important. And I feel like if they realize that and the amount of growth that is actually afforded in those positions, it's a lot more attractive. Even if you can't compete with the consulting firms, like that's okay. I took a pay cut. But I don't see it as a pay cut. I see it as a long-term pay increase. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm putting pennies in the piggy bank. That's one way to say. But yeah, just having them realize that you can do that, and it's not just another government position, but you're actually making an impact. That's what we want. That's why we were all drawn to this industry, and just making sure that they realize that and that there is growth and opportunities. I think you can get anyone.
Okay, I'm in consulting, but I think across the board, and this will answer the government piece too. When you do find somebody like Kelly, somebody like Raul, they need to be out in the forefront. They make the job more attractive, right? Us doing these type of things, us being out on the forefront, when we go to career fairs, people need to be able to see themselves working in that position. And I think that's the most important piece that you can have across the board, whether it's consulting or government. That's what makes it attractive. When somebody can say, hey, I can be like her, or hey, I can be like him. I can see me doing their type job. Oftentimes that means sending the younger folks, okay? Don't just relegate them to making the synchro models, and they're never out on the forefront. We need to be out on the forefront so that we can attract the people who you want like us, we can attract them. So.
Right. Yeah. And like you're saying, it's difficult for, I feel, the private sector to compete on maybe a compensation aspect. But as Kelly was speaking, the impact, and if you can really focus your efforts on finding those people, at your career fairs or wherever you're doing your recruitment, and saying, hey, the work we're doing here at DeKalb County is making a difference. We improve the day-to-day lives of the traveling public. We listen to our constituents' concerns. We make DeKalb County better, So that's the selling point for me, and I think that's the selling point for a lot of people that work for the state, is that, and local governments, is that we are more ingrained in the community. We're able to work directly with these folks and make their lives better. So, it's a great cross section between, public service, being a public servant, and being an engineer.
I'm real brief here, but I'm just an honest proponent of just honesty is the best policy. So when you're trying to convince someone to work for you, just be upfront and honest about what your intentions are and what you do. And I mean, I worked in sales while I was in college, and when you're honest, I mean, it's amazing how much the customer appreciates that. So when you're trying to hire somebody, just be honest with them, and you'll be amazed at the results.
Okay. I'm interested to hear a little bit about what you would like to see changing within the industry, and most specifically more like the workplace. And these are changes that you could really be a part of where you're at in your career and as you grow. I know when I entered the industry, there was a big focus on getting more women in engineering, and I counted the women in the room. I think there are 11 women, maybe 12 in the audience. But it's really encouraging to look at the panel and see, 4 women sitting up there. So that's pretty exciting, and you can see that change when we look at our young professionals. I'm interested to hear what you think some of those changes you'll see over your career, and how you'd like to be a part of them.
One thing I would like to see more is, a lot of talks, and this is nationwide across everything. We've already had a few technical programs where they are really focusing in on this and mentioning this, but you know, diversity and inclusion in the workplace, right? As you spoke to, the big push was for getting women into engineering. So, you know, now it's even increasing the diversity even more. I know I went to school at an HBCU in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Southern University. And, you know, the size of our career fair versus the size of the LSU career fair, obviously it's a way bigger university, I understand. But the fact that I think there's like a huge Jacobs office in Baton Rouge. They have a really nice building down there on Essen Lane. And I don't think I saw Jacobs at our career fair at all. And we have a great civil engineering department as well. You know, we have great engineers, great mechanical. You know, we've sent people to, you know, Lockheed and Google and Tesla and all these other companies. But from the civil engineering standpoint, I was just where are my people at that are going to offer me the jobs? So there are good engineers at these other universities as well. So a big push for me and would be diversity and inclusion in the work.
I'll say, I think that I've been in the industry for about 4.5 years, and I think I've seen an increase in the number of women in our field. But with that being said, I don't think I've seen a lot of women in higher level positions, in the project management level positions, making the larger decisions. I feel like we're making progress, but right now we're just kind of checking the box to have that person in the office. It would be really great to see not only women, but also minorities in more leadership positions. I think that's really what's missing.
I think for me, I've definitely seen this in the workplace already, but including your younger staff and more decision-making conversations. There's a lot of, well, I'm clearly biased, but I think that there's a lot of, you know, good perspective and skills that the younger staff have, especially doing, you know, the nitty-gritty production work day to day that can help influence your decisions. And I know I've appreciated it when I've been in those conversations.
And I'll just add one more thing. Raul kind of alluded to it, but you know, just seeking out talent at some of the less renowned universities. So I know we have here in Georgia, we have Tech, UGA, and then you've got Kennesaw State. But you know, Kennesaw State's kind of an afterthought when you're looking for engineering students. So maybe just, you know, focusing more efforts towards smaller schools, or maybe branching out, diversifying, trying to find talent in other places. Might be the best solution to maybe solving this crisis with not finding enough young transportation professionals.
All right, I think we got time for one more from Paul, and then that'll wrap us up.
This one actually came from a comment online from the people who are watching. The gist of it is burnout. How can management help younger people cope when there's a heavy workload or demanding deadline?
I think from my personal experience, because my team has been able to diversify their skill set, it's been really easy for us to shift work as needed. So all of a sudden, I've got 150% of the work, and it's really easy for me to be able to delegate out or to piece things off to people when I am that overwhelmed with work. And I think that's worked really well for our team.
When I graduated college, I was burned out. And, you know, I kind of let my hiring manager know that, hey, can I take a break before I start? And he actually would be upset with me if I didn't ask to take that break. So, yeah, just, you know, we have to be honest when we're burned out. We have to be transparent and let y'all know. And then, you know, like Lyndon said, you gotta delegate, and you gotta trust your other team members to, temporarily maybe pick you up until you're able to mentally or physically recover, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think if managers make it a regular habit to check in with their employees, I think they'll get insight as to where they are mentally. And that will help them kind of spot it a little earlier. If it's a regular thing and I'm talking to my manager's reaching out to me on a consistent basis, it's easy for me to convey to him that I'm burned out, or he may sense it coming even before I do, right? So I think it's a more of a preventative measure to just consistently check in as a manager, because sometimes, especially younger staff, you're kind of, oh, I don't want to bug my manager, So if that manager just kind of takes the initiative to step out and make the first step and check, make it a constant or consistent check, then it's more of a preventative measure.
Right. As she was saying, just being cognizant of how your employees are feeling, how they're managing their workload, and things like that. Like she says, if you're constantly checking in, then you should have a feel of how they're doing. There have been points where I felt burnt out, and I've reached out to my manager like, hey, I'm kind of overwhelmed at the moment. I feel like my workload is a little too high, and then, be flexible with them. Okay, let me look around at everybody else's workload. Let me see what I might be able to shift around a little bit. Maybe you can pass off a certain job responsibility for, maybe if I'm working on a study, okay, maybe we'll have somebody, do the crash analysis for you, or maybe we'll have somebody do a certain part of the study for you, or, maybe we'll pass off, don't pick up the next 1 or 2 permits that come through for your area. We got somebody that's kind of light. We'll let them pick those up because you're kind of overloaded at the moment. So I should just be aware of how your employees are feeling on the day-to-day. And, you should be able to help them with that.
Yeah, when it comes to burnout, just be honest and transparent with yourself first, and then your manager also. I feel like, at least for me, sometimes I don't want to get left behind, right? I don't want to have my value not be shown or something like that. So I think that fear will lead me into burnout more, and just being able to be transparent with yourself and your deadlines, and then being able to effectively communicate that to your manager is the most important part. We're all people. We all have real lives and other things going on, and I think we all understand that. And we're all, amicable and open to understanding that, and it's just being transparent and letting people know, like, what's going on, just being honest and transparent.
All the great questions, and I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.